If you're inspo tanks, and make no mistake, you've come to the right place. Just give Tennelle the time to straight up blow your mind with a new show of drawing a blank.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. To start things off, I just want to explain why things have been a little touch and go here with Drawing a Blank episodes. In short, 2021 has been kind of a roller coaster of life events. One of my best friends, co-director on Clouded Moon, and current roommate had some pretty intense medical emergencies earlier this spring, and we've been helping her recover from that, and thankfully, she's just now getting to a new normal post-surgery life. We're happy that we could be there for her, but as you can imagine, that kind of stress and recovery takes a lot of creative energy away from you. In July, we were all thankfully able to plan for a trip out to California to celebrate with another dear friend of mine and another co-director on Clouded Moon, and we celebrated their wedding. So happy we could make it. We were gone for about 10 days, so it was a big trip. And then when we got home, we had to make a sudden shift in plans because our roommate got work in Colorado and our lease for our current place ended in September. So we had to pack up everything that we owned in just a few weeks and move halfway across the country with very little time to plan or gradually work towards it. And in the meantime, I've been keeping up with Twitch streaming, AnimationPilgrimage, our gaming channel, and of course, production on Chapter 2 of Clouded Moon. So, yeah, your boy's been busy, and I am hanging on to my sanity like Woody being ripped off of the moving truck by Sid's dog, but hey, let's all just take a deep breath together, and remember that things won't stay crazy forever. I should hopefully be getting back to a more regular upload schedule as we settle into our new place, which is awesome, by the way. I really couldn't be happier to have made the move, even if my year has been hectic. Anyway, in the middle of all of this, I decided to start a fun project with my patrons, and you guys, but we'll get to that part at the end of the video. Back in July, some of my patrons thought of a cool community project where we would all make up a prompt and then work on creating our own original artwork from said prompt. I really love this idea because it not only gives me a chance to create some original pieces, but it encourages community inspiration to work on something together, bouncing off of each other's ideas and seeing how everyone can add their own spin on a loose prompt. So, bam. We definitely had a lot of people interested in participating, so now it was just a matter of figuring out what prompts we would be drawing from. I decided to make a few polls to get us started. One poll would have the 13 Zodiac animals, and the second would have a more elemental or magical kind of option. Everyone got to vote on both polls until we ended up on the prompt Time Snake. From there, everyone had 2 weeks to draw their Time Snake inspired artwork and then turn it in to be shown. And I'm excited to show off everyone's amazing work. But first, I want to explain how we'll move forward with the project. With these 2 polls made now, we are going to keep this project going by continuing to vote on the same polls. But every time one option wins the vote, it will be excluded from all future voting. So right now, over on my Patreon Discord server, they are voting on the next prompt, and time or snake will not be an option. So without further ado, here's the artwork that was made by my patrons. First up on the submissions, we have a piece from Willow Lycera. Going for a very ethereal look, I love the gold and silver color palette, awesome. Another great color palette used by Snowy Ferns here. Oh, I just love that. Here is a piece done by Shinko. I love the composition on this one, and you can tell that you're going for a day and night theme, and I like how the snake's color palettes reflect that. That's really cool. Next up, we have a piece from Zwa. Love the minimalist design. Very cool. This piece is from Nissa FY. I love this. I love that you could see one of the snakes going down into the the little hourglass. That's so cute. Here's our submission from Froggy Windowsill. Nice use of the complementary purple and yellow color palettes. That looks awesome. This piece is from Orca Iguana. Really interesting concept with the snake still spiraling outward. And you also have the snake eating its own tail. Like that's really cool. Very cool idea. This piece is from Dinguso. having two snakes wrap around an hourglass. I like this one too. I love the red and blue color palettes together. That is awesome. I also love the detail that the sand on the top is a more bluish hue, and then the sand at the bottom is more yellow. Really cool. And I love the scale patterns you put on the snakes. These little guys are from CQ Studios. I like that you decided to go with just some different character designs here. Really cute. I like all the different patterns. And yes, even Whitney is joining in on the project. I know that this one has a plan going forward, so I'm really excited about that. Lovely, like, weaving pattern though. Great job. This one is from Luke and Petya. I love the detailing on the scales you did in this, and the colors for the background really pop. That is cool. And lastly, we have a submission from Uro-san, W4. Again, we have that red and blue color palette. Love to see it. And a white snake. And the hourglass eye is really cool. I love all the little details in the middle of the pupil. That's so cool. And that's all of them. Huge shout out to my patrons for letting me use their artwork in this episode, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with the next prompt, because these blew me away. You guys did such a fantastic job. If you want to be a part of future prompts and in an episode of Drawing a Blank, you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. That'll get you access to the Discord server where this project is taking place. No pressure to stay if you just want to take part in the project, but I appreciate it all the same. Okay, so now it's time for my piece. I knew right away that I wanted to make this whole project cohesive and have them all linked to each other in a fun way. I probably spent the majority of my time on this project just thinking about how exactly I wanted to do that. In the end, I decided I wanted to use this opportunity to do some world building for another story I'd like to tell one day. If you followed my work for long, you've probably seen bits and pieces of it pop up from time to time. It's very much a work in progress and extremely subject to change, but I think that's what'll make it a fun thing to share with you guys. I get asked a lot about how I go about world building and making characters, and I mean, for starters, that's a really hard question to answer because I think the best answer is to just do it, but that's not helpful at all. So I figured that the next best thing is to show how I go about doing it and try to explain my thought process for things as we go. Okay, so we're starting with some world building. I always knew I wanted to create some kind of high fantasy, magical infused world. I enjoy fantasy, magic, and animal tropes. Big shocker, I know. So I wanted to create a world around that, but that's still a huge playground to explore, so let's start getting more specific. A lot of times when I'm trying to think of new ideas, I think about other media that I've watched that's made me go, ooh, ah, and start branching out from there. One of my favorite shows of all time is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the magic system in that story has always been a huge draw for me. I love the idea of being born with some kind of magical power that you have to study and train how to use. You aren't just born naturally gifted, because even if you do learn quickly, you still have to learn. It opens the doors for a lot of self-discovery and growth for characters. Plus, I'm a sucker for learning environments. One thing I'm less of a fan of is the concept of non-magical folks. This is a pretty common trope, and don't get me wrong, it's a perfectly fine trope to use, but it's just not going to work for me in this case. I don't really want to explore it. Stories about non-magical people in a magical world, at least when they aren't the main character, tend to have some kind of subtext of not being born special or looked down upon by their magical counterparts. Again, these are fine things to explore in fiction. I just personally don't want to. In my lore, everybody is going to be born with innate magic inside of them. It's as common as a heartbeat. If you don't have ties to some kind of magic, you're just dead. So if everyone is born with magic, then what does that mean for the world? How different would life be if you and everyone around you had some kind of magical connection? That's still extremely broad, and if everyone has magic, that means that it's a pretty mundane concept. So I think that it's only fair that we put some pretty heavy limitations on what kind of magic people are born with and its uses. Now, this might sound like a tangent, but stay with me. I've always loved trees. Nature aesthetics and the beauty of trees just vibes with me, you know? There's something awesome about how trees spread their roots so far into the ground. They reach up so tall into the sky. They live much longer than most other living creatures, and they just have so much personality in the way that they grow. Their leaves absorb the sun and give us clean air to breathe. They house all other kinds of creatures, and damn it, I was born in the 90s, okay? Save the Rainforest edutainment got me and never let me go. With that in mind, I decided I wanted to tie the magic system into the world itself. Trees hold the power of magic as its most ancient source of life, and by extension, the creatures living on the planet also have magic thanks to the trees. This also means that there is a vested interest in taking care of the trees. Like I mentioned earlier, magic is as common as a heartbeat or breathing. You just need it to survive. Different trees feed into different kinds of magic, and that magic is separated into individual factions. You're born with a specific kind of magic inside of you, and you can't change that. As a result, some magi group together and have formed civilizations around their trees and their way of magic, but others are extremely rare, and these individuals have to find their own place within other societies. So, for example, earth trees are probably very common, but inside those clumps of earth tree societies, there could be time trees. You get the thing. This also means that some magics are more prestigious than others, but magic is still an everyday thing, an important but often taken for granted thing. Kind of like trees. You've also probably noticed that so far I've called the denizens of this tree-hugging universe creatures. And yeah, it's because I'd like to keep an open mind at this point of what all kind of beast and or critter could live there. There's definitely dragons, and griffins, and phoenixes, and plenty of other magical beasties because they're cool, and this place is magical, so why the heck not? There's definitely also your typical woodland animals, but since this universe is full of magic anyway, animals have a more Redwall-esque society. They're, you know, of average human intelligence level. There will also probably be some kind of humanoid civilization, but I'm less certain about that. Maybe more so like Hylians in the Legend of Zelda series. Human, elf-ish people amongst the other more fantastical creatures. This is mostly because, you know, it'd be weird to have something like a minotaur or a centaur running around if there are also no human-esque bodies living on the planet. I will say for certain, though, that whatever human race is on this universe, they won't be the dominating species. I always eye roll when humans somehow dominate the natural order of the world when there are creatures like dragons around, or even like mountain lions with human level intelligence. That just does not make any sense. Another important thing to note is what kind of magic you're born with is clear from the get-go. As a designer, I love little details in a design that can tell you something about a character. Of course, as I go forward, I'll probably be playing around with a lot of different elements of costuming and fashion, but working with animal characters first will give me a little bit more time to think about that. Anyway, my main point is that everyone is born with some kind of like tattoo birthmark that signifies what kind of magic you have. This is going to be a concept I'm really excited to play around with because it means that everyone kind of knows what your potential is from the moment you're born, which puts some crazy pressure and expectations on people before they even know who they are. And don't get me wrong, it's also very convenient to have just a signifier that says like, hey, I know fire magic, and hey, I know earth magic. But also, this is a fun way to put some extra trauma on my characters before they can even walk and talk. Hell yeah. Plus, cool tattoo markings just make for some fun designing that I get to do around that. I'll be exploring tattoo designs as we go, but for now, we have the time tattoos here. They normally are right around the eye, and the different branches of time magic, which I'll get into later, have slightly different variants. Not all tattoos will be around the eye, but for time magic specifically, this is how this will work. Also, reminder that you are all here with me in the creating process. I may change a hefty chunk of this world building as I continue the project, because that's how I figure this stuff out. It doesn't have to be a perfectly well thought out plan right from the start. No project is. The important part is to actually start playing around with it and see if you actually like it. So right now I'm throwing a lot of things that I personally like into a blender, hitting the button and then seeing what I could tweak from there. I like fantasy animals, I like magic, and I like trees. So far I'm on board, and right now I'm the only person that matters. We'll figure out more specifics as we move along, but it is finally time to start talking about my time snakes. Now, for the time being, I don't really have names for these guys or for anything, really. Coming up with names is really difficult for me and usually one of the last things I settle on. And that's okay. A lot of people struggle with naming things. I try my best not to get hung up on that and just refer to things in broad terms until I can start nailing down some names that I like. I'm hoping that as I continue this project, I might find some themes or lore building reasons for naming conventions. Anyway, for the time being, I'm going to refer to these three as Historic, Flow, and Lucky. Together they make up a deadly trio of robbers collectively called the Borrowed Time Triad. Each one of them specializes in a different subsect of time magic: past, present, and future. Time is an extremely rare strain of magic. Time mages are only born near the oldest of trees, and even then an old tree will only produce a time magi very rarely. Because of this rarity and the usefulness of time magic itself, time magi are extremely sought out individuals. Most time magi are practically given positions of power as advisors, law enforcement, leaders, teachers, etc. But many suffer from rushed and strict childhoods as a result. Once a time magi has been discovered, they're usually forced to attend schooling to learn how to properly use their powers and don't have a lot of personal freedoms until they are adults. Historic was one such pupil. Taken away from his family at birth, Historic grew up in a school environment where everyone was his caretaker while at the same time being extremely alone. Historic's time magic is connected to the past, so he ended up spending a lot of his childhood making friends with people of the past by observing them. Wielders of past magic can see glimpses of the past. A novice time mage might be able to use their magic to see who drank the last of the milk and then put the bottle back in the fridge, while an experienced time mage can witness moments from the ancient past. Many pastime magi actually put their pastime work into full-time work, becoming scholars and historians. They are also highly sought after in roles of the justice system. Reading visions of the past accurately is its own art, however, and many have made false assumptions based on their magic. Historic went through his schooling, then continued his studies in history afterward. He made many breakthroughs in discovering long-lost artifacts through the use of his magic. Even though he was on his way to becoming a notable scholar, Historic felt trapped by the stuffy environment and heavy regulations that had made up his life thus far. Finding ancient treasures was thrilling work, but having to hand them all over to the powers that be and not reap any of the rewards for himself was also unsatisfying. And this was Historic's life until he met Flo. Flo's backstory is an enigma. They don't speak about it much. What is clear is that Flo has somehow managed to stay out of the strict schooling system for time mages while also mastering their own brand of present time magic. Present time magic affects the day-to-day flow of time. Around the presence of a present time magi, one might feel time drag on, or the hours slip by. An inexperienced present time mage might not have much control over their magic and accidentally make a moment that they've been dreading take even longer by slowing down time or speed through a party by making time go quicker. This is why present-time magi are trained early and often to avoid these kind of mishaps. Most experienced present-time magi use their magic in subtle ways, though a master present-time magi can be a powerful force to reckon with, as they can imbue different objects with different speeds of time to make a quick getaway or disorient their opponent. Flo has grown up as a loner and a thief, making alliances rarely to guard themselves from backstabbers and betrayers who would take advantage of them and their magic. Like mentioned earlier, present-time magic can be very powerful and intimidating when used by someone who knows how to use it. It's no wonder how Flo has managed to escape all capture by authorities and avoid most confrontations that might end poorly for them. Having time on your side pays off nicely. Flo singled out Historic as another time mage. They watched Historic continually grow frustrated in his scholarly prison, and when Flo offered a way out in exchange for his talents in finding treasure, it didn't take much convincing for Historic to agree. After all, Flo could keep them safe, and Historic could find the riches that they both wanted. It was a win-win for both of them. Last to join the triad is the young and temperamental Lucky. Also singled out by Flo as a time mage, Lucky was less enthusiastic to join any kind of group, let alone one that specifically wanted him because of his magic. Rare and difficult to master, future time mages can't see visions or alter the flow of time itself, but instead their magic can best be described as premonitions of events to come. As a result, many often refer to future time magi as lucky magi. While most lucky magi go about their daily lives without much struggle and generally good luck, lucky magi can master their magic to bestow good or bad fortunes on what they see fit, though they don't really have control of the future the way that people assume they might. Because it's so rare, future time magic is extremely misunderstood. Lucky magi are also kind of blessed and cursed. Blurst. Lucky. Oh, jeez. Okay. Lucky magi are also blessed with the curse of popularity. Everyone wants to keep a lucky magi around as an advisor or confidant, but as luck is a cruel mistress, sometimes even lucky magi get things wrong, and the people they work with can be less than forgiving. Really, lucky magi follow their instincts, but a good lucky magi will also do their research to form a much stronger premonition to ensure they are correct about the future. Lucky's childhood was similar to Historic's, taken from his family, sent to school, and growing up mostly alone. Being a future mage, Lucky Reasons, was more of a curse than a blessing. A blurse, if you will. While Flo could use their magic to escape most any situation, and Historic's skills kept him preoccupied and useful, Lucky only made friends who wanted to keep a good luck charm around. Knowing the future is such a volatile form of magic, though, and when you're supposed to know the future, second-guessing your instincts isn't what people want to hear. Lucky survived school and was immediately employed to be an advisor to the elites, but after a couple of costly wrong predictions, Lucky was beaten and exiled from his home. Scared of what might happen to him if another nation found out he was a lucky magi, Lucky hid his magic from that point forward. No one would use him as a good luck charm again. Until Flo discovered him. As time magi themselves, Lucky eventually came to trust Flo and Historic, and they ended up being better masters to learn from in terms of how to put more trust in his own instincts and magic. Lucky still keeps his talent hidden to most, though, and prefers to stay in the background of Flo and Historic's robbing and looting, but still plays an essential part in all of their schemes. Lucky wants to try to live a normal life, or at least not fear what would happen to him if they were ever somehow caught. Together, the Borrowed Time Triad make up one super effective team. As a group of thieves, they aren't necessarily great people. Flo in particular has definitely done a murder or two for sure. But they do have their own little found family dynamic that I just love. Renegades and rapscallions will always be near and dear to my heart. So there we have it. That is my drawing for the prompt time snakes. I'm super excited to see what ends up on the polls next and how I can continue the world building for all of this. This is going to be a really fun project. But now you might be thinking, ooh, this looks like fun. Can I join in on this project even if I'm not part of the Patreon server? And the answer is absolutely. Drawing a Blank has always been about encouraging others to take inspiration and create, and I would love to see what people come up with. So, if you'd like to share your take on the prompt time snake, or do fan art of any kind relating to what I do, be sure to share it with me at the link below. Whitney and I gather all art submitted there, and then react to it every Friday over on Twitch. If you are a patron, of course, your art will be featured in every video we do on this topic moving forward, and I can't wait to see what people create. Thank you all for joining me. Again, I'm really excited about the kind of creativity I've seen so far with this. Let's keep it going. This is going to be a super fun project. Have a fantastic week, everyone, and stay inspired.